Welcome, fellow dreamers. I'm the storyteller, and I'm here to guide you into a peaceful sleep with a soothing story. Hit that like button and subscribe, then settle in. Let the calming sounds of rain and wind be your lullaby as we begin. My name is Darren Hayes. I've been a forest ranger for the past 6 years, spending more time among the trees than with people. Most folks think it's just a quiet job checking trails, monitoring wildlife, helping lost tourists, but I've seen enough to know that there's more to it than that. After all, it's not just bears or the occasional snake that lurk in these woods. It was fall in 1998 when everything started to change. The day had been crisp, a clear sky overhead, and the mountains in the distance glowing in shades of orange and gold. I was finishing up a shift, driving along the winding roads of the Appalachian Mountains toward the station, the radio playing softly when Mike's voice crackled through. "Darren, you there?" His voice wasn't usual tight and tense. I could tell something wasn't right. "Yeah, Mike, what's up?" I answered, trying to sound calm. "We've got a situation. A group of campers went missing near that old trail off Pine Ridge. Haven't heard from them in 24 hours. I need you to check it out." I knew Pine Ridge. It was a trail that locals whispered about, one with a reputation. People didn't stay there long, and no one knew why. Some said it was superstition, but Mike's tone made it clear that this was more than just another search and rescue mission. "Got it," I said, already reaching for my gear. "I'll head out right now." By the time I got to Pine Ridge, the evening had settled in, a fog rolling in as the sun disappeared behind the mountains. The air was thick with that oppressive silence that always seemed to descend when things were about to go wrong. I parked my truck at the trailhead, staring into the dense, quiet forest. No campers, no gear, not even a trace that anyone had been there. I felt that familiar unease settle in, deep in my chest. This was no normal missing person case. I started walking into the woods, the underbrush thick underfoot, as though the forest didn't want me there. My flashlight flickered in the mist, casting strange shadows across the trees, and that's when I found it. A backpack, lying in the underbrush, its zipper half open, like it had been abandoned in a hurry. No sign of struggle, no blood, just the backpack, left behind like an afterthought. I was about to turn back when I heard it. A rustling, soft at first, like footsteps in the distance. My heart skipped. I wasn't alone. The forest went quiet again. I froze, listening. The rustling had stopped, and in its place, a deep, oppressive silence settled over me like a blanket. My instincts screamed to run, but I had to find out what was going on. I gripped my flashlight and moved forward slowly, trying to keep my breathing steady. Then I saw it as shadow flitting between the trees. Too fast, too fluid to be a person. My pulse shot up. I wasn't imagining it. Something or someone was out there, watching. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. The rustling had stopped, but the presence, that feeling, like eyes on the back of my neck, hadn't gone away. The flashlight in my hand flickered again, the beam cutting through the fog like a weak sword against an unseen enemy. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking louder might summon something worse from the shadows. Nothing answered. The woods remained eerily silent, every tree, every branch frozen in place, as if holding its breath. I pressed on. The deeper I ventured into the woods, the heavier the air became. It wasn't just the weight of the fog or the chill in the air, it felt like the forest itself was pressing against me, pushing in on every side. I could almost hear the trees groan under the pressure, their roots twisting deep underground, as if they too were trying to keep something locked away. Then, ahead, I saw it, a figure, tall and dark, standing motionless between the trees. My heart slammed against my rib cage. It wasn't moving, just standing there, half hidden by the thick mist. I couldn't make out any features, but I could feel its eyes, or something like eyes, watching me. I swallowed hard, trying to force my legs to move, but fear kept me rooted to the spot. I forced myself to take a step forward. The figure turned its head. The motion was unnaturally slow, deliberate. I was sure I could hear its bones creaking as it moved. And then, in a voice that sounded like it came from far, far away, it spoke. "You shouldn't be here." The words hit me like a physical blow, cold and cutting. My pulse quickened, and I took a step back. This wasn't a person. It couldn't be. No human could move like that, stand so still, so unnatural. "Who? What are you?" I stammered, my voice shaking. It didn't answer at first. It just stood there, watching. And then, with a flick of its hand, the mist around us began to swirl, swirling faster, thickening, turning the air into a suffocating cloud. "I am the Watcher of Pine Ridge," it finally said, its voice low and rasping. "And you have come too close." My blood ran cold. The Watcher's stories I'd heard growing up, legends and whispers of beings that lived deep in the woods, guardians of something ancient and dark. But those were just stories. They weren't real, were they? "What are you guarding?" I asked, the words leaving my mouth before I could stop them. The figure tilted its head, its eyes glimmering like twin stars in the black void of its face. "You've felt it, haven't you?" it said. "The thing that lies beneath, the thing that waits." I took another step back, feeling the ground shift beneath me. It wasn't just the forest that was alive, it was something else. Something ancient and untouchable, buried beneath the very earth. The figure's voice echoed in my mind, a deep, guttural sound that seemed to come from all directions. "The gate is open, and now, it's your turn." Before I could react, the ground trembled beneath my feet. The mist thickened, swirling like a violent storm, pulling at me, dragging me toward the shadows. A sound pierced the air, a shriek, so high-pitched that it almost shattered my eardrum. I couldn't think. I couldn't breathe. The woods were alive with it, a deep, rumbling growl that vibrated the air, like the earth itself was waking up, angry, hungry. The Watcher took a slow step toward me, its form shifting with the mist, its edges blurring like smoke. "You are the one who called us, the one who woke the gate." I staggered back, heart racing, panic rising in my chest. I didn't, but my words were drowned by the sound of something heavy moving through the trees. The Watcher raised a hand, the mist swirling around its fingers. "It is too late now." And then, from the depths of the forest, a shape emerged. At first, I thought it was a tree, one of the ancient giants that had stood for centuries. But no, this was no tree. It was massive, its twisted limbs reaching toward the sky, black branches stretching from a body that seemed to be made of the same mist, the same dark, shifting shadows. It towered above me, its eyes burning with a cold, malevolent light. I felt the ground beneath me tremble again as it moved closer. It wasn't just a creature. It was the forest itself, alive, conscious, angry, and it was coming for me. I tried to move, but my legs felt like they were made of stone, frozen to the ground beneath me. The creature loomed ahead, its massive form shifting, as if it were made from the very essence of the forest. The trees groaned, bending under an unseen weight, and the air around me grew colder, suffocating. I could feel the pressure of the earth beneath my feet, as though the ground itself was trying to pull me into its depths. The Watcher stepped closer, its eyes glowing like coals in the darkness. "The forest has awakened," it rasped, its voice like dry leaves rustling. "And you have awakened it." My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to comprehend what was happening. The creature ahead's limbs were like twisted, ancient branches, its eyes burning with an unnatural fire. It wasn't just a thing from the woods. It was the embodiment of the forest itself, and it was here for me. The Watcher's gaze never left me as it spoke again, its voice cold, almost mocking. "You thought the forest was just a place, didn't you? Just trees and animals. but it is more. It is alive, and you have disturbed its slumber. The ground beneath me trembled again, and I stumbled backward, my breath coming in short, panicked bursts. I didn't mean to, I managed to say, my voice barely a whisper, caught between terror and disbelief. I just came to find the campers. The watcher didn't answer. Instead, it raised its hand, and the creature in front of me. The thing took a step forward, its massive form blocking out the light, casting the entire clearing into a shadow that chilled me to the bone. Its eyes, those glowing, pitiless eyes focused on me, and I felt an icy grip tighten around my chest. The trees groaned, their branches swaying as though reaching toward me, pulling me closer to the dark shape that towered above. No one leaves once they've been chosen, the watcher said, its voice echoing in my mind. The forest claims what it wants. I couldn't think. I couldn't move. The presence of the creature was overwhelming, suffocating. It wasn't just an animal or a being from the woods. It was something ancient, something that had been waiting for centuries, its existence intertwined with the land itself. As the creature's massive limbs shifted, a low growl rumbled from its throat. I realized, too late, that I was trapped. The clearing was no longer a safe haven, had become a prison. The air thickened with an unnatural fog, the trees closing in on all sides. I felt the ground beneath my feet crack and shift, the forest itself alive and hungry, yearning for something. The watcher's eyes gleamed. It's too late for you now. I could feel the pressure building, the weight of the forest closing in. Every instinct in me screamed to run, to escape, but my body refused to obey. The darkness, the creature, the watcher, they were all around me, pulling me deeper into the forest's depths. I turned and ran. I didn't think. I didn't care about the path, the direction, anything. I just ran, my heart pounding in my chest, the sound of my footsteps echoing in the silence that enveloped the woods. Behind me, I heard the creature move slow, deliberate, but it wasn't hurrying. It didn't need to. I glanced back once, and my blood ran cold. The creature was following me, but not in the way I expected. It wasn't charging or sprinting. It was gliding, its massive limbs floating just above the ground, each movement graceful and terrifying. Its eyes never left me, burning through the fog, a silent promise that I couldn't escape. I pushed forward, desperate, but the forest was closing in. The trees stretched taller, their branches thick and tangled, forming an impenetrable wall. My breath came in ragged gasps, and every step felt heavier, as though the ground itself was trying to swallow me. And then, ahead there was a clearing, a light. I didn't hesitate. I ran toward it, my eyes fixed on the faint glow. But as I neared, the light dimmed, flickered, and went out completely. I stumbled to a halt, panic rising in my chest. The clearing was gone. The light had vanished. The forest had swallowed it whole. The creature's growl echoed through the trees. I could feel it getting closer, could hear the soft crunch of its feet as it moved through the fog. The watcher's voice whispered in my mind, "You can't escape, Darren. The forest will claim you. It will claim everything." I spun around, my flashlight trembling in my hand, trying to find anything, any way out. But the mist had grown thick again, blocking everything out. I couldn't see. I couldn't think. The creature was almost upon me. I was running out of time. The air around me grew thick, suffocating, as if the very forest was closing in, wrapping itself around me like a dark, living entity. My breath came in shallow gasps, my legs burning with exhaustion, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't afford to. Behind me, the creature's growls echoed, low and guttural. Its presence was like a weight, pressing down on the entire forest, bending the trees toward me, pushing me into the depths of the unknown. I could feel it now, the oppressive darkness, thick and malevolent, wrapping itself around my thoughts, whispering things I didn't want to hear. "You cannot escape. I couldn't tell if it was the Watcher's voice in my mind or something else. Something deeper, darker, something older than the earth itself. The mist curled around my ankles, pulling at my feet, as though it were alive. I pushed forward, stumbling, nearly tripping over a hidden root, my flashlight flickering weakly in the oppressive darkness. Every turn I made seemed to lead me deeper into the heart of the forest. It was as if the trees themselves were guiding me, their branches twisting and contorting, pulling me away from the path, forcing me into their embrace. The clearing I had seen was now a distant memory, swallowed by the relentless fog and shadows that closed in on all sides. I needed to stop. I needed to think. I paused for a brief moment, my chest heaving, the sound of my ragged breaths drowning out the distant growls. I pressed my back against a large tree, my hand trembling as I reached for my radio. I needed to reach Mike. I needed help. The radio crackled, static filling the air, followed by Mike's voice. "Darren? Darren, do you copy?" I let out a shaky breath of relief. "Mike, I'm in trouble. I don't know how to explain it. Something's here. Something is hunting me. Mike, it's not just the forest. It's something ancient." There was a brief pause on the other end, and then Mike's voice, tight with concern. "I'm coming, Darren. Just hold on. We'll find you. Where are you?" I glanced around, disoriented, trying to make sense of the trees, the fog, the oppressive silence. It all felt the same. Nothing looked familiar. The forest had shifted. The trail was gone. I don't know, I gasped, my mind racing. It's not the same. The woods, they're changing. Mike, I think I'm trapped. The static on the radio flared again, the sound of distant, unnatural crackling filling the air. The growl of the creature intensified, louder, almost as if it were right behind me. "Darren, stay with me. Stay calm. We're close. Just stay put." But I couldn't stay put. Not anymore. I couldn't risk waiting. The thing behind me, the creature, the forest, it wasn't going to let me go. It was closing in. "Mike," I gasped, my voice panicked. "It's here. It's coming for me. Please, I need help. Now." I dropped the radio, my hands trembling too much to hold it. The mist thickened around me, clinging to my skin like a second layer, suffocating. The growl came again, this time much closer, louder, and this time, it wasn't just a growl, it was a roar. I spun around just in time to see the massive shadow looming in the mist, its eyes glowing with an unearthly fire. Its body was massive, its shape fluid, twisting like the forest itself had come alive and was taking form in front of me. Branches reached down from the canopy, stretching toward me, as if the trees were reaching out to grab me, to pull me into their dark embrace. The creature let out another roar, its voice echoing through the trees like thunder. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. The forest around me was alive, and it was alive with hunger. I turned and ran again, my mind blank with terror, my legs pushing me through the thick underbrush. But the ground beneath me was uneven, the trees too dense. The path was gone, lost in the dark labyrinth of the woods. The creature's growls followed, relentless, and I could feel its breath on my neck. Suddenly, I stumbled. My foot caught on something hidden beneath the underbrush, and I tumbled forward, hitting the ground hard. My head slammed against a rock, and for a moment, the world spun around me. I couldn't stay down. I forced myself to stand, dizziness clouding my vision. As I looked up, the mist parted briefly, revealing a large clearing ahead. The light of the moon shone through the trees, illuminating the center of the clearing, and in the center, there was someone standing in the middle of it. I blinked, trying to focus, my breath catching in my throat. A figure stood motionless, bathed in moonlight, their face hidden beneath a hood. But it wasn't the figure that froze me in place. It was the presence that came with it. The overwhelming sense that this figure, whoever or whatever it was not just another lost soul in the woods. This being was different. Something about it felt wrong. Something ancient. Darren, the figure spoke, its voice low and distorted, like it was being dragged through thick, wet soil. You've come far. I took a hesitant step forward, my hand shaking as I reached for my flashlight. But the light flickered and died, leaving me in darkness. No, you're not real, I whispered to myself, trying to convince myself I wasn't losing my mind. You're not real. But the figure didn't move. It stood there, as still as the trees around it, watching me. You have awoken the watchers, the figure rasped, its words like gravel scraping across stone. And now, you will witness the truth of Pine Ridge. A cold, sharp wind gusted through the clearing, the trees around us shaking. The figure raised its hand, and the ground beneath me trembled. The mist grew thicker, swirling around us like a living thing. And then I saw it through the fog, something massive, something moving. The creature, the forest, the watchers. The world around me was falling apart. It wasn't just the creature. It wasn't just the forest. It was everything. The world itself was crumbling, and I was in the center of it. The figure didn't move as the forest around us began to tremble. The mist thickened, swirling like a storm, closing in on the clearing, suffocating every breath I took. It wasn't just the creature behind me, anymore it was everything. The trees, the ground, the very air seemed to pulse with something ancient and hungry. You've awakened us, the figure spoke again, its voice growing clearer now, almost human. The watchers have been waiting, watching, and now the veil is thinning. I swallowed hard, my mind struggling to piece together what was happening. The veil, Pine Ridge, the watchers? These were names, concepts I had heard only in whispers, in half-forgotten stories, and now they were here, real, alive, and they weren't something I could run from. The ground beneath me seemed to shift, a low rumbling growing as the mist deepened, pushing me toward the figure in the center of the clearing. My legs felt like lead, my mind spinning with the weight of everything I had seen so far, the creature that had stalked me, the darkness that seemed to be closing in, and now, the watchers themselves. I opened my mouth to speak, but my voice caught in my throat. The air was thick with something unspoken, something suffocating. The figure raised its hand, the movement slow, deliberate, like it was commanding the very mist to obey. The watchers are not your enemy, Darren. We were never meant to be feared. We are the guardians of the veil. It is the world beyond the veil that should terrify you. The words seemed to hang in the air, vibrating with a strange resonance, like the world itself was listening. I could feel it, something shifting, something ancient, stirring just beyond the edge of the world. What do you mean? I finally managed to rasp, the words feeling foreign on my tongue. What's beyond the veil? What's happening to the forest? Why is this happening? The figure didn't respond right away. Instead, it lowered its hand, and the air around us seemed to still, as if waiting for something. I felt the weight of its gaze, heavy and knowing. The creature behind me, the one I had been running from, had fallen silent. But it was there, lurking in the mist, its presence palpable. The veil has always been a barrier, the figure said, its voice more somber now. A thin thread that separates our world from the things that lie beyond. The watchers have always kept it in place, binding the worlds together, ensuring that the darkness does not spill over. A chill ran down my spine. The darkness, the thing that had been stalking me, the thing that had been whispering through the trees. The darkness, I whispered. What is it? What is it waiting for? The figure's eyes, glowing faintly, now seemed to flicker with a faint sadness. It is not something we can destroy. It is an entity older than the forest itself, older than the world. It is the root of all things that should never have been. The veil was created to hold it back, but the thread is fraying. Darren, the barrier is weakening. The mist around us twisted in a slow, deliberate dance, and I could hear the distant sound of trees cracking, as if the very earth was being torn apart. "You're saying this is my fault?" I asked, the horror sinking in. I opened the gate. The figure tilted its head slightly, as though contemplating my question. "The veil has been thinning for centuries. It was never just one person's action that caused it. The world has been unraveling, and you," it paused, "you have become a part of the reckoning." My heart raced. "What do you want from me?" The figure's voice softened, almost a whisper now. "We need you to hold the line. The darkness is already creeping through the cracks, and we cannot stop it alone. We need the last of the Watchers, those who still hold the power to seal the gate." My thoughts were spinning. The Watchers, the veil, the creatures in the forest. It was all connected, and now I was part of it. "Then help me," I pleaded, my voice desperate. "Tell me what to do. I don't know how to stop it." For the first time, the figure seemed to falter, its expression shifting, almost a glimmer of doubt in its glowing eyes. "The path you must walk is not an easy one, Darren. The darkness cannot be fought with weapons or strength alone. You must reach within yourself, to the power you have forgotten." "Forgotten?" I asked, confused. "What power? What are you talking about?" The figure stepped closer, its shape distorting as it moved, until it stood directly in front of me. "The Watchers are not just guardians. We are part of the world, as much a part of the land as the trees and the animals. You, Darren, are one of us. You carry the power of the veil inside you, but you must awaken it." I backed away, my mind reeling. "I don't understand." "You will?" the figure said, its voice calm but firm. "But you must hurry. The darkness is growing stronger with every passing moment, and the forest is calling for its reckoning." Suddenly, the air shifted. The earth beneath my feet trembled again, more violently this time, sending shockwaves through the clearing. I glanced around, panic rising in my chest. The creature that had been lurking in the mist was moving again. The Watcher raised its hand, and the ground cracked open, a deep rift forming beneath us. The mist thickened, swirling in all directions, and the sky above us darkened, as if the clouds themselves were being drawn into the pull of the rift. "It is time, Darren," the Watcher said. "Time to awaken the power within you. Time to close the gate." I could feel the power beginning to stir, deep within me. The light that the Watcher had spoken of it was there. It had always been there, dormant, waiting to be awakened. And now, I had no choice. The forest was coming alive with something terrible, something far darker than I could imagine, and I had to stop it. I closed my eyes and focused, reaching deep into the core of myself. The energy was there, like a pulse, a heartbeat, radiating through my chest. I could feel the power of the land, the ancient force that had guarded the veil for centuries, coursing through me. It was raw, untamed, and I knew deep down I had to wield it to protect everything. The creature roared, its form shifting, stretching unnaturally as it neared. But I didn't flinch. Instead, I focused, channeling the power that had begun to surge within me, letting it fill every fiber of my being. It was now or never. I could feel the energy swelling inside me, a force so primal, so powerful, that it threatened to break free. The Watcher's words echoed in my mind, the power of the veil. I didn't understand it fully, but I knew that it was the key. It was the only way to stop the creature, to keep the darkness at bay. The ground beneath me rumbled, the rift widening, swallowing everything in its path. The forest itself seemed to scream in agony as the air turned colder, the mist thickening, curling around my legs like tendrils. It was as though the very land was alive and dying, torn between two worlds, struggling to hold on. I raised my hands, feeling the weight of the power within me. My fingers tingled with the energy, but there was also fear. This power, it was more than I had ever known, more than I could control. But if I didn't use it, the creature would consume everything. the world would fall into darkness. Focus, I told myself, closing my eyes, grounding myself. The Watcher had said I was one of them, the last of the Watchers. I had a duty, a responsibility. I had to protect the Veil. The creature's growl reverberated through the forest, deep and guttural. I could feel its presence, closing in on me, growing stronger. Its twisted form loomed just beyond the trees, its eyes glowing like burning embers in the mist. It was patient, waiting for me to make a mistake. I couldn't let that happen. I took a deep breath and reached deeper, feeling the power surge within me, the connection between the forest and the Veil. The energy was alive, a current running through every tree, every leaf, every stone beneath me. It wasn't just power, it was the essence of the forest itself. The land was alive, and it had chosen me. Now, I whispered, my voice shaking, not with fear, but with the weight of what I was about to do. The power surged through me, flooding my senses, filling every part of my being. I felt it like a fire in my veins, burning bright and hot, an unstoppable force. I raised my hands toward the rift, and the air crackled with energy. The ground trembled violently beneath me as the forest seemed to respond. The trees groaned, the wind howled, and the mist swirled around me like a storm. I could feel the presence of the creature, its eyes burning into me, its growls vibrating through the air. But it couldn't stop me. I was the Watcher now. And I was going to close the gate. With a final, determined shout, I thrust my hands forward, releasing the energy that had built inside me. The power surged out of me, like a wave crashing against the shore, rippling through the forest, through the earth, through the very fabric of reality. The rift screamed in protest, its edges twisting and warping, as if trying to fight back. But the force I had unleashed was too strong. The energy from the forest, from the land, from the Veil itself, was overwhelming. The rift began to close, the darkness retreating, pushed back by the light that surged from within me. The creature let out a terrible, bone-chilling roar, its form twisting and contorting, trying to break free. But it was too late. The rift was closing. The gate was being sealed. With a final scream of rage, the creature disappeared into the darkness, its form vanishing like smoke in the wind. And then, silence? The mist lifted, the air clearing. The trees stopped groaning. The rumbling of the ground faded away, and the oppressive weight that had hung over the forest lifted. The forest was still, as if nothing had ever happened. But I knew better. The battle was far from over. I collapsed to my knees, breathless, my body drained from the power I had just wielded. The force inside me had been overwhelming, and for a moment, I feared it had taken too much out of me. The Watcher, who had been standing just behind me, stepped forward. Its presence was calm now, no longer a looming threat. It looked down at me, its glowing eyes softening. "You've done it," the Watcher said, its voice quieter now, filled with something akin to respect. "The gate is sealed, for now. The darkness has been pushed back." I took a shaky breath, still on my knees, my heart pounding in my chest. "But it's not over, is it? The Veil is still thin." The Watcher nodded slowly. "No, the darkness will always seek to return. The Veil will weaken again. But for now, you have done what was needed. You have bought us time." I looked around the clearing, the forest still and quiet, the trees standing tall once more. It seemed peaceful, serene, but I knew better. The forest was not just a place. It was a battleground, a threshold between worlds, and I was the guardian of that threshold. Now, I stood, my legs trembling beneath me, the weight of everything still pressing on my shoulders. "What happens now? You must prepare," the Watcher said. "You are the last of the Watchers. You will find others, those who can help you keep the Veil intact. But know this, there are forces out there who will always seek to break through. They will always try to find a way." I nodded, my mind racing. I had thought my life as a forest ranger was about keeping people safe, preserving nature. But this was something else entirely. The Watchers were not just guardians of the land. We were guardians of reality itself. "You're not alone, Darren," the Watcher said, as if reading my thoughts. "There are others, scattered across the world. You will find them. Together, you can keep the darkness at bay." I looked up at the sky, the first rays of sunlight breaking through the trees, casting a soft golden glow over the clearing. The world seemed to breathe again, but I knew the truth now. The darkness was always there, just beyond the veil, waiting, and I had a responsibility to protect the world from it. The days that followed felt like a blur. I had returned to my duties as a forest ranger, but nothing was the same. The weight of what had happened, what I had done, clung to me like a second skin. The trees felt different now, darker, as though they were watching me. The forest had always been a place of solitude, but now it was a constant reminder of the responsibility that had been thrust upon me. I spent my days monitoring the trails, ensuring the visitors to Pine Ridge stayed on the path. But my thoughts were never far from the clearing, from the Watcher, from the things lurking just beyond the veil. The night felt heavier. The stars above seemed to burn brighter, like distant beacons guiding me, or perhaps warning me. Every rustle of the wind, every snap of a twig, sent a jolt of alertness through me. I couldn't shake the feeling that the forest was alive, aware of my presence, waiting. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the first traces of fog began to creep through the trees, my radio crackled to life. "Darren, you there?" Mike's voice came through, sounding strained. "I'm here. What's going on?" I asked, immediately on edge. "There's been some strange activity near the old cave system. People are saying they've seen things, figures, shapes moving in the dark. You need to check it out." I clenched my jaw, the weight of Mike's words settling over me. The caves, the ancient place beneath the mountain, where strange occurrences had always been rumored to happen. I had visited it before, years ago, but never like this. There had always been whispers of shadows, echoes, things that didn't belong. And now, it seemed like the forest was once again calling me to confront the unknown. "I'm on my way," I replied, grabbing my gear and heading toward the truck. The drive out to the caves was long, the roads winding and treacherous. The sky had darkened by the time I arrived, a thick fog rolling in from the mountain like a blanket. It was colder here, and the air felt damp, with a sense of impending change. The cave entrance loomed ahead, a gaping mouth in the side of the mountain, dark and foreboding. I parked my truck by the entrance and stepped out, the crunch of gravel beneath my boots, the only sound breaking the silence. I glanced around, the trees on either side of me twisted and gnarled, their branches reaching for the sky like hands begging for something. Mike was already there, standing at the edge of the cave, his face grim. "I don't know what's going on, Darren," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But something's definitely wrong. We've had reports of people going missing more than one, and those who have come back, they're not the same." "What do you mean, not the same?" I asked, my heart rate picking up. Mike glanced at the ground, his eyes troubled. "They talk about seeing shadows in the dark, figures that move too quickly, too unnaturally. It's like they're being drawn into the cave, and then something happens to them. I don't know if they're being changed or controlled, but they're not the people they were when they left." I felt the familiar chill run down my spine. The darkness in the woods had always been there, but now it seemed to be seeping into the people who ventured too close to it. "Let's go inside," I said, already knowing what had to be done. "We need to find out what's causing this." Mike nodded, stepping back to let me lead. We moved toward the cave's entrance, the darkness swallowing us as we crossed the threshold. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of earth and damp stone. My flashlight flickered, the beam dancing on the walls of the cave, casting strange shadows that seemed to move of their own accord. The further we went, the more oppressive the air became. The walls of the cave were covered in strange marking symbols that didn't belong to any language I knew. They were ancient, worn by time, but they pulsed faintly, as though alive. "What is this?" Mike muttered, his voice echoing in the narrow tunnel. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My mind was racing, piecing together fragments of things I had learned at the Watchers. The veil, the ancient forces that lay beneath the world. The symbols on the walls, the strange energy in the cave, everything seemed to be leading me here, to this moment. And then, we heard it. A sound, faint at first, but growing louder. A whispering like a chant. It echoed through the cave, bouncing off the walls, swirling in the air like something alive. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. Mike looked at me, fear written on his face. "Do you hear that?" I nodded, my eyes scanning the darkness. The whispering grew louder, more insistent, as if something or someone was calling us. Without thinking, I moved forward, my flashlight cutting through the darkness. The sound led us deeper into the cave, and as we rounded a corner, we saw them. Figures, shadows. They stood in the middle of a large chamber, their forms barely visible in the dim light, but their eyes burned with an eerie, unnatural glow. And then, one of them spoke. "You should not have come." The voice was low, guttural, and filled with an otherworldly echo. It didn't sound human. I raised my flashlight, but the light flickered and died, plunging us into complete darkness. A cold, suffocating chill settled in the air, and the whispering grew louder, more frantic. "Mike," I whispered, my voice trembling, "get the radio. We need backup." But Mike didn't respond. I turned to find him, but he wasn't standing next to me. Panic surged in my chest. I called his name again, my voice breaking through the silence. And then, I heard it. A slow, deliberate movement, like footsteps on stone. I spun around, but it was too late. A figure lunged from the darkness, its face a twisted mask of shadow, its eyes glowing with an unnatural fire. Its mouth opened wide, revealing sharp, jagged teeth, and it reached out for me. I raised my arm instinctively, but I was too slow. The creature's hand, cold and unnatural, grabbed my wrist, pulling me toward its gaping maw. And then, I felt it, the energy, the darkness, swirling inside the cave, crawling beneath my skin, tugging at my very soul. It was pulling me in, dragging me into the depths of the void. I couldn't let it. I couldn't give in. With everything I had left, I focused. I reached deep within, feeling the power of the veil surge inside me, coursing through my veins like fire. "Be gone," I shouted, my voice hoarse, but powerful. The creature recoiled, its form flickering like smoke, and then it disappeared back into the shadows. The cave fell silent once more, but I knew we weren't alone. The darkness was still here, and it wasn't done with me yet. The cave felt like it was closing in around me. The echo of the creature's movements, its disembodied growl, still reverberated through the stone walls. My hand was still shaking from where its cold fingers had gripped me, and my heart was pounding in my chest like a drum. The darkness was suffocating, an oppressive force pushing down on everything in the cave. I reached out for the radio, my fingers trembling, but it was no use. The device was silent, dead. The air in the cave had shifted, heavy with something ancient and alive, and it was making everything harder to breathe, harder to focus. "Mike," I shouted, my voice cracking through the quiet. No answer. I scanned the chamber, my flashlight flickering back to life. The light barely cut through the thickening fog in the cave, and I could see nothing but shadows moving on the edges of my vision. Something was in here with me. I could feel it watching me from the dark. I took a step forward, the sound of my boots echoing off the cold stone. It felt like an eternity had passed since Mike had last spoken. I couldn't tell if he was ahead of me, or if he'd disappeared entirely. The stillness in the cave was unnerving. Every breath I took felt like it was too loud, too intrusive. I moved slowly, carefully, my flashlight beam darting around the chamber. The walls here were marked with more of those strange symbols. They pulsed faintly, glowing like the remnants of a long-forgotten ritual. A shiver ran down my spine as I traced the markings with my eyes. There was something about them, something familiar, yet ancient, as if they had been placed here for a reason, to keep something in, or maybe to keep something out. Then I heard it, a faint rustling, barely audible, but it was there. I stopped, my body tensing, and listened. The rustling grew louder, followed by a soft, eerie whisper. It was almost a chant, or something close to it. The words indecipherable, but carrying a weight, a pull that seemed to tug at my mind. I moved toward the sound, my heart in my throat. The passage narrowed as I moved deeper into the cave, and the air grew colder. My breath came in short, ragged bursts, and the fog thickened, almost blinding me. The whispers grew louder, until it felt as though the voices were all around me, surrounding me, their echoes bouncing off the stone. And then I saw it, a figure, barely visible in the mist, standing just ahead. It was tall, cloaked in darkness, its face hidden. But there was something about its presence, something familiar and wrong all at once. The whispering stopped. "You should not have come," a voice echoed from the figure, its tone cold and hollow. I froze, my heart racing. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice hoarse. The figure stepped forward, its face still hidden in shadow. It moved like the fog itself, shifting between the layers of mist, as if it were part of it. "You were never meant to walk this path," it said, its voice deep, resonating with power that made my skin crawl. "You woke the forest. You awakened the Watchers." I stumbled back, fear gripping me. "What do you want from me?" I didn't mean to. I didn't know. The figure tilted its head slightly, its presence oppressive, pressing down on me. "You were chosen, Darren. Chosen to bear the weight of the veil. The darkness is not just an entity. It is a force, an ancient hunger that consumes all. And you? You are the keeper now." My mind raced, trying to understand. The Watchers, the veil. The darkness was this, the same entity I had confronted earlier in the woods. The one whose presence had haunted me, always just out of reach. "Why me?" I whispered, my breath shaky. "I'm just a ranger. I didn't ask for this." The figure took another step forward, its movement unnervingly smooth, like it was gliding. "It is not a matter of choice. The veil has called you, Darren. You are one of the last, a watcher who must stand between the world and the abyss. You have already opened the door. You cannot close it now." My stomach twisted, a cold knot forming in my chest. "The door? What door?" "The door to the other side," it said, its voice rising in pitch, the words echoing like a chant. "The gate is open, Darren. You've felt it. You've seen the shadows, the creatures that roam the dark. They are the Watchers of the abyss, bound to the darkness, waiting for the time to come. The veil is no longer strong enough to contain them." I took a shaky step back, my mind reeling. "So, what do I do now? How do I stop it?" The figure's head tilted slightly, as if amused. "Stop it. The darkness is beyond stopping. It will consume everything in time, until there is nothing left but the shadows. The only question now is whether you will embrace your role as a watcher, or become a part of the dark." I didn't understand. "What are you asking me to do?" "Protect the gate," it said simply, its voice no longer a whisper, but a command. "Guard the veil. If you do not, the creatures will come, and they will devour you, just as they have devoured those before you." The forest around me shifted, the ground trembling beneath my feet. The air grew thick with an unnatural energy. I could feel it, deep in my bones, the presence of something ancient, something that had been waiting, dormant, for centuries. But there was more. In the distance, I could hear it sound like the crackling of leaves, the howling of wind through branches. The creature I had faced earlier in the woods was coming back. It was close, too close. The figure seemed to sense it too, its form flickering, becoming more ethereal, like it was fading into the mist. "You have been warned," it said, its voice a fading echo. "But the choice is yours, Darren. Embrace your destiny. Protect the veil, or perish." I turned to run, but the cave seemed to shift around me, the walls closing in, the ground trembling beneath my feet. The darkness was coming for me, no longer just shadows, but creatures, beings that lived in the forgotten corners of the world, waiting for the gate to open. I couldn't let them win. I couldn't let them consume everything. I had no choice but to fight. But this time, it wouldn't be enough to just survive. This time, I had to protect the Valor. Everything would be lost. The creature's growl echoed through the cave, a deep reverberating sound that seemed to shake the very bones of the earth. I didn't need to turn around to know it was getting closer. The presence in the cave had shifted, becoming more oppressive, more real. The walls seemed to close in around me, the darkness thickening, as if the very cave was alive, trying to swallow me whole. I ran. My boots hit the cold stone floor, the sound of my footsteps, the only thing breaking the silence. My breath was ragged, the weight of the power I had unleashed earlier still clinging to me, draining my strength. I could feel the energy, the dark energy rising again, pressing against me, pushing me forward into the unknown. The figure's words rang in my ears, the weight of its message sinking in deeper with every step I took. "Guard the veil," it had said. "Protect the gate." But how? How could I protect something I didn't fully understand? The darkness, the creatures, the watchers, all of it was too much to process in a single moment. And yet, there was no time to question it. The cave tunnel twisted and turned, the darkness thickening with every step. I could hear it, now, the soft scrape of claws on stone, the low growl of something stalking me. My heart pounded in my chest, and I could feel the presence of the creature drawing closer. I couldn't outrun it. I couldn't run forever. I needed to make a stand. I stopped at a narrow passage and turned, my back pressed against the cold stone. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and decay. My hand trembled as I reached for the flashlight, but it flickered and died. In the pitch-black cave, there was nothing left but the sound of my own ragged breathing. The growl came again, louder this time, followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, closing in on me. I felt the presence behind me before I saw it. The shadows twisted, taking form, and in the dimness, I could just make out the shape, a tall, monstrous figure, its form blending with the mist. Its eyes burned with an unholy light, and its mouth opened wide, revealing sharp, jagged teeth. A grotesque grin stretching across its face. It was the creature. It stepped forward, its claws scraping across the stone, its growls rumbling deep from within its chest. The cave itself seemed to vibrate with its presence, the ground shaking beneath me. I didn't have time to think. I had no more time to run. I drew a deep breath, forcing the fear back. I had been chosen for this. I had to embrace my role. I wasn't just a ranger anymore. I was a guardian, a watcher, and I had a duty to protect the veil, to hold back the darkness that sought to consume everything. I raised my hand, reaching deep inside, finding that flicker of light, the same light I had used before, the power of the veil, buried deep within me. It had been dormant, hidden, but now I could feel it, coursing through my veins like fire. The creature recoiled slightly, as if sensing it too. The air around me hummed with energy, the power growing stronger with each passing second. I closed my eyes, focusing, summoning everything I had to protect this world. The creature growled again, louder this time, the sound vibrating through my chest. It wasn't enough. The power within me was growing, but it wasn't enough to fight the creature alone. I needed to act quickly. I had to seal the veil, to prevent the creature from breaking through and bringing the darkness with it. With a shout, I thrust my hand forward, and the energy surged from me, a wave of light and power that cut through the darkness. The creature screamed, its roar filling the cave, the walls shaking as the energy pulsed outward. But the creature didn't retreat. It lunged. Its claws raked the air in front of me, but the wave of light pushed it back, forcing it to stagger, its form flickering like smoke. The energy was pushing it, but not fast enough. It was still coming, still trying to tear through. I couldn't hold it back much longer. Not yet, I whispered, forcing more power into the wave. You will not pass. The energy surged again, brighter, stronger this time. The creature hissed, its body flickering, its form beginning to lose cohesion. But even then, it didn't retreat. The darkness was too strong. The creature was a manifestation of the very force that had been waiting beneath the surface for centuries. It was only a fragment of the larger power that threatened to consume everything. The creature screamed again, louder this time, its body shifting between solid and shadow, its form stretching unnaturally. But as it lunged again, something shifted in the cave. The walls cracked, the symbols on the stone glowing faintly. I realized too late I had triggered something. The energy wasn't just pushing the creature back. It was tearing at the very fabric of the cave itself, opening a doorway. I gasped, panic rising in my chest. The rift gate it was opening again. I had to act now. In the blink of an eye, I drew on every ounce of power I had left. My hands glowed with the energy of the veil, and I thrust both hands forward, releasing everything in one final, desperate burst. The energy exploded, engulfing the creature, tearing it apart. The cave shook violently as the rift closed with a deafening crack. The darkness recoiling, the creature vanishing into nothingness. The ground trembled, the air growing still, and then, silence. I collapsed to the ground, my body drained, the power within me fading as quickly as it had come. My chest heaved with exhaustion, my limbs shaking, but I knew the battle wasn't over. I had stopped one creature, I had sealed one rift, but the darkness was still there, lurking, waiting. I had bought time, but only time. I pulled myself to my feet, staring at the spot where the creature had been. The darkness still clung to the cave, but it wasn't as strong anymore. I had sealed the rift at least for now. The world outside felt different, more fragile, more aware, and as I turned to leave the cave, I knew one thing for certain. The veil was thinning, and the darkness was far from gone. The cave behind me still felt alive, the air thick with something ancient. I could feel it pulling at me, the remnants of the darkness lingering in every corner. The rift had closed, but I knew it wasn't the end. The forest had already started to change again. Something had shifted, and the veil was no longer as strong as it had been before. I stumbled out of the cave, the light of the moon barely breaking through the thick fog. The trees around me felt different now, as if they were watching me, waiting. The calm that had settled over the cave was gone, replaced by a quiet, restless tension. The forest had been silent for too long, but I knew better now. Silence wasn't peace, it was just the calm before the storm. The wind rustled the branches, but the sound didn't carry the usual whispers of wildlife. This was something else. This was the forest itself, restless, aware of the forces moving within it. I didn't need to look behind me to know that the creature was gone, but the darkness that had been held at bay was still there, lurking just out of sight. I could feel it, in my bones, in the very air I breathed. I pulled myself together, forcing my body to move, despite the exhaustion that clung to me. I had to get back to the station. I had to warn Mike. and I had to find a way to stop what was coming. But as I walked, the trees began to change. The air grew colder, heavier. The ground felt unstable beneath my boots, shifting as though the earth itself was alive and struggling to maintain its shape. I reached for my radio, but it was dead, just like before. It was as if the forest had swallowed it, cutting me off from the world outside. I couldn't stay here. I needed to leave. But the path, once so clear, now felt like a maze. The trees shifted, their branches stretching toward me, twisting in unnatural shapes. Their shadows growing longer, stretching like fingers to reach out and grab me. "Mike," I shouted, my voice cracking as I pushed through the thickening fog, my mind racing. "Mike, can you hear me?" Nothing. It was as though the forest had swallowed him too. The isolation I had once felt here had turned into something far darker, far more dangerous. And then, I heard it. A low, guttural growl, coming from somewhere deep in the trees. The sound sent a wave of cold dread washing over me. It was the same growl I had heard earlier, the one that had echoed through the cave. The creature, no, the things were still here, watching. I broke into a run, pushing my way through the thick underbrush. My breath came in sharp, panicked bursts. The forest was no longer just a place. It was alive, aware, and it was closing in around me. I couldn't escape. I ran for what felt like hours, but the path never seemed to end. The trees blurred together, their shapes warping, bending. The darkness stretched around me like a living thing, and I felt the pull, the suffocating pull of the abyss. And then, ahead, I saw it, a figure, tall, cloaked in shadow, standing just at the edge of the trees. I froze. I knew it. The Watcher. It was here. But this time, it wasn't alone. The figure stepped forward, its eyes glowing with a cold, alien light. And behind it, I saw them more shadows, more figures moving through the trees, their forms flickering like smoke in the wind. They were the Watchers, but these were different. Their eyes burned with the same hunger that had driven the creatures, the same hunger that had driven me into the forest in the first place. And then, I realized, they weren't here to protect the veil. They were here to tear it apart. "You've failed," the first figure said, its voice a low hiss, echoing in the silence of the forest. "The gate has already been opened. The darkness is already here." "No," I whispered, shaking my head. "I stopped it. I sealed the rift." The figure tilted its head, its eyes narrowing, glowing brighter. "You only delayed it. The veil is weakening. The creatures are already crossing over. And you are the last of the Watchers. You cannot stop it." I stumbled back, my mind racing. This was impossible. I had felt the power of the veil within me. I had sealed the gate. I had stopped the creatures from breaking through. "Why are you doing this?" I demanded, my voice trembling. "You're supposed to protect the veil. You're supposed to keep the darkness out." The figure's lips curled into a smile, but it wasn't a smile of comfort. It was cold, cruel. "The veil was never meant to last," it said. "It is an illusion, a barrier between worlds that should never have been built. We are the true guardians of this world, the ones who stand between the light and the shadow. The time has come for the truth to be revealed. The darkness will consume everything, and the Watchers will be its servants." I took a step back, feeling my legs give way beneath me. The weight of their words hit me like a physical blow. The Watchers, the ones I had trusted, the ones I thought were keeping the world safe, were now part of the darkness, and they were here to bring it into the world. "No," I gasped, trying to back away. "This can't be true." "You know it is," the Watcher said, stepping closer, its form blurring with the mist. "The veil is no longer a protector. It is a prison, and the world must be free." The figures behind it stepped forward, surrounding me, their eyes glowing like twin orbs of fire, watching me with a hunger that was impossible to ignore. I had no choice. I couldn't stop them. but I couldn't let them win. I closed my eyes, reaching deep within, searching for the light, for the power of the veil that had once surged through me. It was still there, buried deep beneath the fear, beneath the exhaustion. I grabbed onto it, pulling it up from the depths, forcing it into the world. The energy burned through me, fierce and hot, like a flame igniting in my chest. The Watcher's eyes widened, the glow intensifying. "You think you can stop us?" It sneered. "You cannot hold the darkness back." But I wasn't fighting them anymore. I wasn't fighting the Watchers. I was fighting the darkness itself. With every ounce of strength I had left, I thrust my hands forward, releasing the energy, the light, the force of the veil. It surged outward, a blinding wave of power that lit up the forest, pushing back the shadows, pushing back the creatures that had risen from the abyss. The Watchers screamed, their forms flickering, their shadows vanishing as the light consumed them. But the force wasn't just aimed at them. It was aimed at everything: the darkness, the creatures, the very land itself. The trees groaned as the light tore through them. The mist thickened, swirling like a storm. And then, it stopped. The forest fell silent again. The Watchers were gone, their shadows fading into nothingness. But I knew this was only the beginning. The forest had fallen silent, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and lingering darkness. I stood alone, my chest heaving with exhaustion, my legs barely holding me up. The battle had ended, or at least, that's what it felt like. The Watchers, those twisted, ancient beings, were gone, vanquished by the force of light I had unleashed. But even as the mist cleared, and the trees returned to their eerie stillness, I knew it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The veil had been weakened. The darkness was still there, pushing against the barriers that held it at bay, waiting for its chance to break free. I stumbled forward, my mind foggy with the effort it had taken to push the Watchers back. The forest seemed to shift around me, the trees no longer merely silent witnesses to the events unfolding, but participants, twisting their branches like fingers, grasping at the air. I could feel the weight of the world pressing down on me, the responsibility of the role I had unwillingly assumed. I had sealed the rift. I had closed the gate. But I knew, deep in my bones, that the darkness would find another way through. The veil was a thread, a fragile boundary between worlds, and the force I had unleashed could not hold it back forever. I reached for the radio again, but it was still dead. There was no contact with the outside world, no way to warn Mike or anyone else of what was coming. The station felt miles away, lost in the oppressive quiet of the forest. I had to get back. I had to prepare. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was already waiting for me. The trees around me seemed to shift again, their forms warping in my vision, becoming something darker, more sinister. The forest was alive. But it wasn't the same forest I had known before. It had been changed by the Watchers, by the creatures, by me. The veil had been disturbed, and I could feel it, vibrating through every tree, every rock beneath my feet. I broke into a run, pushing myself through the thick underbrush, ignoring the branches that scraped at my skin. I needed to reach the station. I needed to get out of the forest. But as I ran, I realized it wasn't just the trees that were changing. It was the very ground itself. The earth trembled beneath me, as if something was stirring beneath the surface. And then, I saw it, a figure, standing just ahead, partially obscured by the fog. It was tall, its outline dark against the swirling mist. I stopped dead in my tracks, my breath catching in my throat. It was the same figure I had seen earlier in the cave, the Watcher, but this time, it wasn't alone. The shadows were gathering, twisting around the figure, taking shape. More Watchers, more figures from the abyss. I could feel the darkness closing in around me, pulling me into its grasp. The figure in front of me didn't move, its eyes glowing like twin orbs of fire, watching me, waiting. "Darren," the voice came, low and rasping. like the sound of dry leaves scraping across stone. You think you can stop what has already begun? I swallowed hard, my heart pounding in my chest. What do you want from me? I demanded, my voice trembling with a mix of fear and anger. The figure stepped forward, its form flickering like smoke in the mist. You have become what you were always meant to be, a watcher. But you cannot hold the veil alone. The darkness will always find a way through. It will always return. I stopped it, I said, my voice shaking. I sealed the rift. I sent them back. The watcher's laugh echoed in the mist, a sound full of mockery. You are not the one in control. Here, Darren. You are only the vessel. The veil has always been fragile, and it is already slipping. The creatures, the darkness was never fully contained, and now you will be part of it. I stepped back, my chest tight with dread. No, I won't let you. You have no choice, the watcher hissed. The darkness calls to you, as it calls to all the watchers. The time is coming when you will join us, when the veil will fall, and we will rise. The figure reached out a hand, and I felt the pull, a cold, invisible force that threatened to drag me into the shadows. The ground beneath me quaked again, the trees groaning as if they were alive with some ancient, unspeakable power. I couldn't let them win. I couldn't let them take me. With a shout, I summoned every ounce of the power that had been flowing through me. The energy of the veil, the light that had once pushed the darkness away. I forced it outward, a wave of force that lit up the clearing, bright and blinding. The watcher recoiled, its form flickering, its shadows retreating into the mist. But it didn't vanish. It wasn't gone. It was waiting. You can resist for now, the watcher's voice echoed, but you cannot stop it. You are the last of us, Darren. You cannot fight what you are meant to become. I raised my hands again, the power surging from deep within me, but it wasn't enough. The darkness was too close. The veil was too weak. I had no more strength left to give. The energy I had unleashed began to fade, the light dimming, leaving me standing alone in the center of the clearing, the forest closing in around me. The watcher was gone, but the feeling of its presence remained, like a shadow on my soul. The darkness was already here, and there was no escaping it. I stood in the clearing, my body trembling from exhaustion, my mind racing. The mist around me seemed to close in, swirling like it had a mind of its own. The trees were no longer just trees, they were sentinels, standing silent and unmoving, watching me. The watcher's words echoed in my mind, growing louder, more insistent. You are the last of us, Darren. You cannot fight what you are meant to become. I shook my head, trying to shake off the chill that crept into my bones. The watchers, the creatures from the abyss, had been banished, but I knew it was temporary. The darkness was never truly gone. It had simply retreated, biding its time, waiting for another way in. And the veil, the fragile barrier between worlds, was weakening with each passing day. I staggered forward, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on me. I couldn't stay here. I couldn't keep fighting this battle alone. The Watchers had been right about one thing. I couldn't protect the veil forever. It would fall. The darkness would break through. But I couldn't give up. I couldn't let the world fall into shadow. I had to find a way to stop it. With a final, reluctant glance at the clearing, I turned and started walking, pushing my way through the fog. My destination was clear now. The station. I needed to get back, to warn Mike, to tell him everything I had learned. Maybe together, we could find a way to fight this before it was too late. But the forest felt different now. Every step I took felt heavier, the air thicker. It wasn't just the weight of the darkness, it was something else. A presence. A feeling of being watched. I paused, my hand instinctively reaching for my flashlight, but before I could turn it on, I heard it. A whisper. Soft at first, but unmistakable. A voice. Darren. The voice was low, just above a whisper, but it felt like it was coming from everywhere at once. The trees, the earth beneath my feet, even the wind seemed to carry it. I turned, my eyes scanning the darkness around me. Nothing. Just the oppressive fog and the silent trees. Darren. The voice again, clearer this time, as if it was right behind me. My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't just a whisper, it was a command, a call. I spun around, my heart racing, but there was nothing. No one. Who's there? I called out, my voice trembling. Show yourself. But the forest remained still. No movement. No response. Only the whispering wind. And then, I felt it. A shift in the air. A pressure building around me, like a hand tightening around my chest. The forest wasn't just watching me anymore, it was closing in on me. The trees seemed to bend inward, their branches reaching down like skeletal fingers, twisting and contorting into shapes that weren't natural. I felt the weight of the presence behind me again. The whisper was louder now, almost a hiss. Come. The command was unmistakable. I didn't know why, but I followed. My body moved on its own, as if the forest itself had taken control of me, pulling me toward the dark heart of the woods. I tried to fight it, to turn back, but my legs wouldn't obey. I couldn't stop. The fog grew thicker, the darkness deeper. I couldn't see more than a few feet in front of me, but the whispering continued, drawing me forward. Come. It was no longer just a command. It was a promise of something ancient, something terrible. And then, I saw it. Through the fog, there was a faint glow, a light. Soft, dim, but unmistakable. It was coming from a small clearing just ahead. My body moved faster now, drawn to it like a moth to a flame. I couldn't stop. The clearing was different from the others I had passed through. There were no trees here, just a circle of stones, ancient, worn, covered in strange markings. The light emanated from the center of the circle, where a single figure stood, its back to me. It was the Watcher. It turned slowly, its face hidden beneath a dark hood, its form almost blending with the shadows. The whispering stopped as it spoke, its voice low and cold. You have come, it said, its words like ice, sharp and cutting. At last, I stopped just outside the circle, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The figure raised its hand, and I felt the pull again, that cold, suffocating energy, drawing me closer. Why are you doing this? I demanded, my voice shaky but defiant. I stopped you. I sealed the rift. The Watcher's laugh was soft, almost pitying. You have only delayed the inevitable. The darkness cannot be stopped, Darren. It is part of this world, as much as the light, as much as the trees, the earth, the sky. It has always been here, and now it will be free. The figure stepped closer, its form shifting, like smoke in the fog. The air around me grew colder still. My skin prickled as if I were standing on the edge of a precipice, about to fall into something deep and unknown. No, I shouted, stepping back. I won't let you do this. I won't let the darkness take over. The Watcher tilted its head, as though amused. You do not have a choice. The veil is fading, Darren. The gate is already open. My heart raced. I could feel the pull of the darkness now, growing stronger with each passing second. The creature had been right. The darkness was everywhere. It was inside me, inside the trees, inside the land itself. You are the last Watcher, the figure continued, its voice becoming darker, more commanding. The last of your kind, and you will join us, Darren. You will be one with the darkness. The ground beneath me trembled, the earth shaking as though it were alive, as though the world itself was responding to the Watcher's words. The stones around the circle seemed to glow brighter, pulsing with an ancient, malevolent energy. I took another step back, my mind racing. The forest of land was calling to me, calling me to embrace the darkness. But I couldn't. I wouldn't. I had to fight. I had to protect the world. The light inside me flared again, a spark of resistance. I reached deep within, feeling the power of the veil stirring. It wasn't gone. It was still there, still burning, deep within me. The Watcher had no control over me, not yet. "You're wrong," I said, my voice gaining strength. "I won't join you. I won't let you take the world." The Watcher's smile faded, its eyes glowing with an ancient, almost sorrowful pity. "You cannot stop it, Darren. You cannot stop what you are. You will join us, in time. You will become one with the shadows." But I wouldn't listen. I couldn't. I closed my eyes and focused on the light inside me, drawing it forth, pulling every ounce of power I had left. The veil would not fall. The darkness would not consume everything. With a final, desperate cry, I released the energy. The light flared up, brighter than ever before, flooding the clearing with a burst of pure force. The Watcher screamed, its form flickering, breaking apart under the force of the energy. The trees around me groaned, the earth shaking as the light pushed the darkness back, forcing the Watcher to retreat into the shadows. The ground beneath me cracked, the rift beginning to close again. But the battle was not over. The veil was not safe. The darkness would return, and I would be ready. The ground trembled beneath my feet as the energy from the veil surged through me, forcing back the Watcher and its dark forces. I could feel the light inside me, a burning flame that refused to go out, even as the darkness tried to consume it. The Watcher screamed as the energy pushed it into the shadows, its form flickering like smoke caught in a windstorm. But it wasn't enough. I knew the veil was weakening, and the light I had called upon was not enough to keep the shadows at bay forever. The darkness would find its way through, just as it always had. The Watchers would return, and when they did, there would be no one left to stop them. I staggered back, my breath coming in sharp, desperate gasps. My head was spinning from the energy I had released, my body drained from the effort of keeping the darkness back. I could feel the weight of my responsibilities settling over me, crushing me with its enormity. The forest was no longer just a place I had known. It was a battleground, a war zone where the very fabric of reality was being torn apart. I couldn't do this alone. I couldn't keep the darkness at bay by myself. I had to find the others. The Watchers, the last of my kind, had scattered across the world, hiding in the shadows, waiting for the call. I was the last one left, the last to protect the veil. But I couldn't fight this battle alone. I turned and began to walk, my body heavy, my steps slow. The forest seemed to watch me, its trees leaning in as I passed, their branches creaking under the weight of an unseen force. The mist was thick again, swirling around my ankles like an old friend, a reminder that I wasn't alone here. Not really, but the air was different now. The oppressive weight of the darkness had lifted, just for a moment. The trees seemed to breathe again, and the birds had started singing again, their songs distant, faint but familiar. The forest wasn't as it had been, was alive, but it was broken, and so was I. I couldn't stay here. I had to get back to the station, to warn Mike, to tell him everything I had learned. But the path was unfamiliar now. The trees that had once seemed so sturdy, so rooted, were now twisted, their branches reaching out like bony fingers. The ground was soft beneath my feet, almost like it was swallowing me with each step. I felt a chill in the air, a warning that the forest wasn't done with me yet. "Darren," the voice came again, soft and barely a whisper, but unmistakable. I froze, my heart skipping a beat. The wind had stopped, the forest falling silent once more. I turned, my pulse quickening. There, standing at the edge of the trees, was a figure, a woman, tall and cloaked in shadows. Her face was obscured by a hood, but her eyes gleamed with the same unnatural light I had seen in the Watcher's eyes. "You," I said, my voice trembling. "Who are you?" The woman stepped forward, her movements smooth and fluid, like she was walking through the fog itself. Her eyes never left mine as she spoke. "I am the one who called you," she said, her voice low and melodic. "I am the one who has been waiting." I stepped back, my heart pounding in my chest. "What do you want from me?" The woman tilted her head, as if studying me. "You are the last of the Watchers, Darren, the last to carry the weight of the veil. And now, you will be tested." I shook my head, trying to back away. "No more tests. I've already fought them off. The darkness has already tried to break through." The woman's lips curled into a smile. "You have only delayed the inevitable. The darkness is coming for you, Darren, for all of us, and it will never stop. You cannot keep the veil intact forever." I clenched my fists, my mind racing. "Then what am I supposed to do? I don't know how to stop it." "You will," she said softly, "but you must find the others, the Watchers. They are scattered, hidden from view. You cannot defeat the darkness alone." "Who are you?" I asked again, my voice barely more than a whisper, the fear starting to creep back in. The woman's eyes glowed brighter, her smile widening. "I am someone who has seen the truth, someone who understands the balance between the light and the dark. I know what you must do to stop the veil from falling, but it is a choice only you can make." The ground trembled beneath us again, a deep, echoing rumble that seemed to come from the very heart of the earth. The trees creaked, and the mist thickened. The creature was close to close. I could feel the pressure, the darkness pushing against me, trying to break free. "I can't stop it," I said, my voice shaking. "I can't fight it alone. There's too much at stake, too many lives." The woman stepped closer, her presence cold and overwhelming. "Then join me. Join the ones who have already embraced the darkness. You are not meant to fight it alone. Together, we can break the veil. Together, we can free the world." "No," I whispered, stepping back again. "I won't join you." The woman's expression darkened, her eyes narrowing. "Then you will fall, just like the others before you." The world around me seemed to tilt, the forest shifting, the trees bending inward like a cage. The ground shook harder now, and I could feel the pull, the oppressive energy of the dark force threatening to swallow me whole. I had to get out. I had to fight. "I won't let the darkness take over," I said, my voice gaining strength. "I won't be a part of this." The woman's laughter filled the air, bitter and cold. "You have no choice, Darren. The darkness will consume you, just as it has consumed so many before you." I turned and ran, my body moving on instinct, the weight of the woman's words pressing down on me. The forest seemed to close in around me, the trees growing closer, the path narrowing until I could barely see where I was going, but I couldn't stop. I had to get back to the station. I had to warn Mike. The mist thickened as I pushed through the underbrush, and ahead, I saw at the station, dimly lit in the distance. It wasn't much, but it was home, and it would be the last place I could protect the veil. The station was in sight, its faint glow barely visible through the thick fog that clung to the trees. I ran toward it, my body aching with exhaustion, but the urgency of the moment pushed me forward. Every step I took, I could feel the weight of what was coming. The darkness was following me, drawing closer with every breath, pressing in from all sides like a tightening noose. I reached the station, my hand trembling as I pushed open the door. The familiar creak of the wooden frame was drowned by the roar of my heartbeat in my ears. The station had always been a safe haven, a place where I could retreat from the chaos of the forest. But now, it felt like a fortress under siege, the walls closing in around me. I slammed the door behind me and bolted it shut, my chest heaving as I leaned against the wood, trying to catch my breath. The fog outside pressed against the windows like a living thing, a reminder that the forest was still out there, waiting. I turned, my eyes scanning the dimly lit room. The station was silent, the faint hum of the lights, the only sound, but I wasn't alone. Mike stood at the far end of the room, his face pale and drawn. He had been waiting for me, but I could see the fear in his eyes. He knew something was wrong. He could feel it, too. "Darren," he said, his voice shaky. "What happened?" You look like you've seen a ghost." I didn't answer immediately. My mind was still spinning, trying to process everything that had happened in the forest. The Watcher, the woman in the shadows, the darkness that was pushing against the veil. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to steady myself. "Mike, I don't know how to explain this, but the forest, it's changing. The veil is weakening, and the darkness sits not just in the woods anymore. It's everywhere." Mike stepped forward, his brow furrowing in confusion. "What are you talking about?" "What darkness?" "The creatures," I said, my voice low, almost a whisper. "They've been trying to break through. The Watchers, they've been guarding the veil, but now they're part of the darkness. They've come to free it, and if we don't stop it..." I trailed off, my thoughts clouded by fear. The weight of the responsibility was too much to bear. I had already failed once. I couldn't fail again. Mike stepped closer, his face hardening as he crossed his arms. "Darren, I don't know what's going on, but you're not making sense. The forest has always been quiet, just trees and animals, right? You've been out there too long. Maybe it's messing with your head." I shook my head, my eyes widening. "No, Mike, this isn't just in my head. I've seen it. The Watchers, they can control the forest, bend it to their will. They've been watching over it for centuries. But now they're using it for something else. The darkness is coming, and it won't stop until it's consumed everything." Mike took a step back, his face filled with doubt, but I could see the flicker of fear in his eyes. He wasn't ready to believe me. "Not yet. I don't know how much time we have," I said, urgency creeping into my voice. "The darkness is closer than we think. We need to find the other Watchers, those who can help us stop it before it's too late." Mike's face softened, and for the first time, I saw the weight of the situation sink in. "You really think this is happening, don't you?" "I know it is," I said. I felt it. The pull of the abyss. The Watchers, the darkness, it's all connected. And if we don't do something, if we don't find a way to stop it... The station felt colder now, the silence more oppressive. I could feel the weight of Mike's gaze on me, his skepticism replaced with something else, something close to acceptance. He didn't fully believe me, but he knew something was wrong. "We need to act fast," I said, more to myself than to him. The forest, the veil, they're all tied together. The darkness won't just destroy the land, it will swallow everything. The people, the world itself. Mike nodded, though doubt still lingered in his eyes. "I don't understand all of this, Darren, but if you say we need to find the others, then I'm with you. We'll do whatever it takes." I didn't have time to thank him. I didn't have time for anything but what was coming. The clock was ticking, and I could feel it, the pull of the darkness. It wasn't far off now. "We'll start tonight," I said, my voice steady, but filled with urgency. "We need to find the Watchers. We need to prepare for what's coming." The wind howled outside, rattling the windows, as though the forest itself was alive, pressing against the walls, trying to get in. I knew, deep down, that there was no more time to waste. The darkness was already coming, and the Watchers were the only hope we had left. The night was still, unnaturally quiet, the silence hanging over the station like a heavy blanket. Mike and I packed what we could: maps, supplies, anything that might help us as we ventured into the unknown. But the more I thought about it, the more I knew we couldn't keep running. The Watchers were scattered, hidden, and we had to find them. They had to be the key to stopping the darkness from fully breaking through. By the time we left the station, the fog had thickened, swallowing the world around us in a dense, suffocating haze. It felt like the entire forest was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Mike glanced over at me, his face tense. Where do we start? I looked out into the dark woods, knowing the answer before the words left my mouth. We start where it began. Pine Ridge, the old trail. It's where the veil is weakest. If there's any chance of finding the others, that's where they'll be. We set out into the woods, the path barely visible beneath the thick fog. Our only guides the faint flickers of the flashlights in our hands. The air was cold, and every step felt like a journey into the unknown. But the forest was changing around us. As we moved deeper, I began to feel an oppressive weight, pressing in from every direction. The trees were no longer just trees. They were sentinels, their branches reaching toward us, their roots stretching beneath the ground, as if they were alive. We weren't alone, and as we reached the old trail at Pine Ridge, I knew whatever was waiting for us here, whatever was calling us, it was ready.